I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar called Setting Up eVAL 2.0 for the 2016-2017 school year. This will be an action-packed hour. I'm not sure it'll last that long, but it might. And during the time, I hope to show you enough features to get you started and rolling with the new eVAL tool. The learning target for today is that you will go back to your districts or be in your districts and have the skills, knowledge, and confidence to set up eVAL 2.0 for your district for the upcoming year. I'm going to engage you in this webinar by just doing some demonstrations and by referring to the handout. It's going to be a simple, straightforward webinar. I'm not going to do any polling. I'm not going to do anything fancy. But if you do have questions along the way, there is a questions section of your control panel. And if it's not expanded, you can click on the plus sign by the word questions, expand it, type in your question, and hit the return key. And I will be checking the questions panel throughout the webinar. Okay. I think at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, I am in a test site, and it allows me to actually use a mirror image of an actual school district. And today, I'm going to use the Conway School District test site for the first part of my presentation because it's what I have available to me to show you what eVAL looks like as a district administrator the first time you log in to eVAL. And after that, then it looks different and I won't have access to this screen again. So Ann Chin, the developer of eVAL, agreed to let me use this site today for the webinar demonstration. So as you can see, I am on the eVAL site and I'm going to sign in as Conway School District as the Conway School District District Administrator, and of course the District Administrator in this sense means the District Manager of eVAL. The person who's going to set up and configure eVAL on behalf of the district. So I'm going to click Login. And right out of the gate. Let's just reload this page and see if I can get us logged into Conway. Okay, now the first time the District Administrator of eVAL logs into the tool, he or she is forced to choose the teacher framework and the principal framework for the district. Nothing else can be done in the tool by the district administrator until these two tasks take place. And so if you want to find that part of your handout, it starts on page 5, chapter 3. And then I'm just going to move around in the handbook a little bit because this is so big. There's really there's no direct path about what you need to do first, next, and last, except for this one part that you're looking at right now, and that is to select the frameworks. That has to be done first before anything else. All right, so in Conway, I'm going to go to this section here called Teacher Framework. I'm going to choose the framework that Conway is going to use this year. I don't know if they're using Danielson or not, but that's the one I'm going to choose for the purpose of the demonstration. Be very, very careful here because once the framework is loaded, you cannot unload it. You can see that the warning sign here says this is irreversible. So make sure that this is the instructional framework or the teacher framework that you want to use, and then click the red Yes, Load This Framework button. and you can see that it is now loaded for your eVAL tool for the district. In the same way, you take the same steps for the principal framework. In the principal framework, you just click choose. You choose the principal framework that your district has selected. You get the same warning. And when you're ready, if you're 100% sure that that's the correct framework, you click the red framework button. All right. And then it looks like, gosh, now what? It looks like you're kind of stuck. Where do I go from here? And yes, there's a log out button, but you don't have to log out. At this point, you can go right into the assignments, and you can make your assignments and pair up the evaluators with the evaluatees within your district. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for teachers, and I'm going to choose click on the assignments button up here underneath Charlotte Danielson's framework for teaching. That of course implies that you're going to set up teachers. Now in this test site, Conway only has one school and 2 teachers awaiting assignment. And so before we get into this, I just want to talk a little bit about the window parts, because I am going to be referring to the window parts as I go through the presentation. The window parts are listed on page 4 of the handout. And real quickly, I just want to name them for you so that when I refer to them during the presentation, you know what I'm talking about. So over here on the left side of the window is the new menu. If you remember, the previous version of eVAL had the colorful menu across the top. Now the menu is down the side, giving it a much more updated, modern look. Right next to the menu at the top is this little menu button, and all that is it's a little menu visibility button. So if I click on it, it makes the menu disappear, and if I click on it again, the menu reappears. It's a toggle button. Just going across the top of your screen, you see that the Danielson Instructional Framework is the one of choice, and it's chosen by default by the district administrator. And I'll show you how to change that if you like to work in the state framework instead. And then there's a button that can take you into your account, and you can set up your account. You can assign a picture to yourself, and there is a help menu now that if you click on it, it'll take you into a help environment, a help center. However, that's pretty underdeveloped right now, and that is a work in progress. So don't expect too much from the help center right now. Okay, and then of course when you're ready to log out, there's the log out button. If I say, look at the page, you should be looking at the page called something. It's this big title across the top. So the title of this page is Assignment for Teacher Evaluation. And then, of course, down here is the workspace. This is what I call the workspace for this page. This is where you do the work or you see the data for everything that's selected in the menu or on the page. Okay, so I'm going to refer to this area right here in the middle. It's kind of the guts. It's where the rubber meets the road, where the work is to be done. All right, and then occasionally on some pages down here at the bottom, we'll see a floating help button, which will take you into a contextual help environment. But again, that's underdeveloped, and we won't be referring to it today. All right. So when you're the district administrator now, one thing that you need to know is that you have options for what you're in the tool to do, and you can click on this little options menu in the menu, and it will ask you, it'll just confirm what year and what district, and then here is some important, it's an important decision to make. Why are you in the work area? Are you here to administer the teacher evaluations? or to view evaluators, or to administrate principal evaluations. All right, so for now we're going to administer teacher evaluations and click on Done. You can change that at any time. And of course, now you can see that the setup is noted that you're here to administer teacher evaluations. So at this point in time, everything you do will be in terms of setting up eVAL for teacher evaluations. All right. All right. If you want to follow along in the handout, I'm going to go to page 7, where the chapter on configuring eVAL for teachers begins. And the first thing we're going to do is learn how do we assign teachers now to their evaluators in this particular new tool. Page 7 has some key information about it, about doing this task, and it provides you information about what you need in order to complete your teacher assignments to their principals, to their evaluating principals. So now there's over here on the menu, there are several menu items, and one of the things you can do to get to the teacher assignments is click on Assignments. All right, and in the workspace called Assignments Summary, all of your schools will be listed. And in this case, again, Conway has one school, but all of your schools will be listed. And in this table is a lot of information about the status of teacher assignments. And if you look at the table, the second to the last column is, it notes that there are 2 teachers awaiting their assignment. Okay, and there's an orange button up here. It's not a button, it's actually just a kind of a notification that there are 2 teachers awaiting assignment. So let's go ahead and click on the green View button. And we can see who those teachers are that are awaiting assignments. And at this point, when you assign teachers, you're assigning them not only to their evaluating principal, but you're also assigning their evaluation type. And so you'll see drop-down menus for each teacher for both their evaluation type and their evaluator. Now, before I go into those drop-down menus, let me just show you that up at the top of this screen, you can maintain the responsibility at the district level as the district administrator to make these assignments and assign the evaluation type and the evaluating principal. Or you can delegate that particular responsibility to somebody at the school. And each school should have a school administrator. If you choose school, then you as the district administrator can still assign teachers to their evaluating principals. And in addition to yourself, the school administrator and the principal of the school can also make assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and click on school for now, but again, that doesn't mean that I can't make assignments. And there's a little red note here that says delegating assignments to a school does not prevent the district from making changes. So let's go ahead and make those changes, even though I have delegated it to the school. And so if that's confusing, just remember that the district administrator still has the right to and the privileges to set the evaluation type and the evaluator. All right. So there are 2 teachers awaiting assignment. Notice over here in the ready column, they are not ready to be evaluated yet because they have not been entered into the eVAL tool with their evaluation type and evaluator. All right. So the way you do that, of course, is that teacher 1, his name may be John Smith, needs to have his evaluation type set up. So he is a teacher who might be on a comprehensive evaluation cycle. All right. And if that's the case, of course, that's all there is to do. And then you come over here and you click and hold on the drop-down menu, and you choose his principal. And as soon as those two assignments are made, you'll see that a green check mark set up in the ready column, and then up here the orange notification button has been reduced by 1 because we have now set up 1 teacher. Okay? All right. So I am going to leave Conway School District for now. And, well, no, maybe I'll do the next one. Let's see here. I just have to see how I'm set up. Yeah, I wanted to use the Conway School District as the district for the purpose of demonstrating how to assign frameworks and how to do the simple assignments at the district level for teachers for their evaluation type and their evaluators. I'm going to log out of this particular district now because I want to go into another menu. Actually, it's the same menu, but through the eyes of a teacher, a district teacher evaluator. And so there are teachers in your district that may not be evaluated by a principal, but rather they may be evaluated by somebody at the district level who has the responsibility of evaluating teachers in many school buildings. So in that case, you would need to follow the instructions starting on page 11 of your handout. And in this case, the district teacher evaluator has to actually make the request to the district administrator to be set up to evaluate the teachers that he or she evaluates across the district. So I've already logged in in another screen, and you can see right here up in the top left of my menu, I am now logged in as a district teacher evaluator. Assigning teachers to the district teacher evaluator starts with the person in this role, who is the district teacher evaluator. All right, so again on page 11 will be the instructions for this. If the district teacher evaluator, is ready, then he or she needs to log into eVAL and go down to the Setup menu. Okay, and it expands a little bit, and you'll see that now the district teacher evaluator can make an assignment request. In other words, they can request to be paired up with the teachers that they evaluate. All right. So right now I'm in a different school district, and it doesn't really matter. I'm in Centerville School District, and I chose a different school district because it has a lot more teachers populated in the sandbox for this district. So as the district teacher evaluator, I can choose what school the teacher's in. And for now, I know that I have a teacher in School 1, and that teacher is whoever teacher E is. Let's say it's Mary Brown. And I want to create a request. I'd like to request that the district administrator approves the pairing of that teacher, Mary Brown, at School 1 with me as their evaluator. So I sent in a request, and now if I go over to Centerville School District as the district administrator, and forgive me for jumping around from screen to screen, but I'll try to help you keep track of what screen we're looking at. We're now looking at the Centerville School District eVAL tool as the district administrator, and the now that the district teacher evaluator has made a request to the district administrator, we should see that. I'm going to reload this page just to make sure that we can see that. And the in the settings, let's see, I'm sorry, in the assignments, in the district administrator's assignments menu, there will be now a table that shows that in the Centerville School District, school number 1, there is a pending district teacher evaluator request to pair a teacher with the district teacher evaluator. And I'm going to click on the view menu, or I'm sorry, the view button. All right. When I do that, I enter into the workspace for the assignments for Centerville School District, and here it is, the district-wide teacher evaluator assignment requests part of the page. Teacher E, the approval is pending, and as the district administrator, I need to accept or reject it, and in this case, I'm going to accept it. And then the assigned evaluator is for either observations only or is the true assigned evaluator. And that'll be something that you and your district-wide associates will need to talk about. And that's that. That's how that works from the point of view of assigning teachers to district-wide evaluators. Okay, so that is a little bit about assignments, and it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Again, if you want to delegate that to the schools, I'm going to go back to the assignments, the main assignments page, assignment summary, and you can delegate that responsibility to all schools, or you can delegate it to one school at a time. If I go back into school 2, I can view the table for school 2, and again, here's where you would delegate that responsibility to one school at a time. All right. I'm going to just stop and see if there are any questions that have been typed into the questions window. Yes, I have a question. Can we have the district administrator and the teacher-wide evaluator roles at the same time? Yes, you can have 2 roles now at the same time. And in the previous version of eVAL, you could have 3 roles, up to 3 roles at the same level. In other words, you could have up to 3 district roles, or you could have up to 3 school roles, but you could not have roles that crossed levels. But now in this version of eVAL, you can have more than one role at one level. All right. So will this webinar provide information for building principals to set up for our year of evaluations? Yes. And in that case, actually, let me back up. No, this webinar is only about district administrators and setting up the tool for use across the district. There are other webinars that will show principals how to create prompts, how to make their own assignments to teachers, how to schedule pre and post observation conferences and the actual observation itself, how to collect artifacts and score evidence, and even more. I'm just reading through the questions. In order for the principals to evaluate the associates, they need to request that assignment? No. All that the district administrator has to do is come over here and switch from administrating teacher evaluations to, let's see, district administrator. Sorry. Centerville only has one principal, so it's not going to have another section called administer principal evaluations. Let me quickly log out of here. Let me log into another district. Let me log into Battleground. All right. In Battleground, there are several principals, of course, and many of the schools have head principals and principals. So when you're in the district, when you're in the eVAL tool as a district administrator, and you're making assignments, you always start by going to options and choosing your work area. In that case, to answer your question about how principals evaluate their associates, this is the work area that the district administrator would need to be in because you're preparing principal evaluations. I'm going to click Done. And now your setup is here, is noted here, and you go to the assignments page. And here is where each principal is listed in your district, each head principal and each principal, and you can assign the evaluation type and choose the evaluator. Now the head principal will be, of course, assigned to a district evaluator, but principal A can be evaluated by a district evaluator or the head principal. And instead of role names here, these will be listed as real human names in your eVAL tool. Okay? So that's how head principals and principals get assigned to their evaluators. Okay. How do we enter teachers? I can only see 2 of my current teachers. Okay, so how do you enter teachers? You do not enter teachers into the eVAL tool. That is done by your district security manager, and it's actually, that task is actually carried out in the EDS tool. So you will need to find out who your district security manager is, and you will need to set up EDS and assign the teachers to the tool called eVAL within the EDS tool. And then once the district administrator assigns the teachers to the evaluating principal, then they will be able to see each other in the tool. But again, it all starts out in EDS. And where do you set up, another question, where do I set up permissions in eVAL or add and delete principals? Again, that's done in the EDS tool. Okay. All right. So that looks like all of the questions for now. So I'm going to keep going here. Let's see what's next in the manual. Okay, in the handbook, starting on page 13, there is a section of the handbook called Developing Prompt Banks for Pre-Conferences, Post-Conferences, and Student Growth Goals. And so if you're going to be doing that for teachers, then you need to get into the options link and choose the right option. And for setting up prompts for teachers, you need to be in the work area called Administer Teacher Evaluations, and then click on Done. Okay. Now, prompt banks are populated by starting with a click on the prompt bank button, or the menu at the left. And the district administrator will use the prompt bank if there are pre- and post-conference prompts that will be assigned to all teachers in the district. If that's not the case, if your district team has decided that no prompts will be populated, they'll be input and assigned to teachers at the school level, then the district administrator won't have any pre or post conference prompts to enter here. Now, notice that there are some tabs here, and there is a pre-conference area and a post-conference area and a student growth goal setting area. And I'm going to go right into the student growth goal setting tab and the workspace for that tab, but just know that all of the prompts that you enter will be entered the same for all three of these tabs. The only role in your district that can enter prompts for student growth goals is the district administrator. Principals and school administrators cannot enter prompts for student growth goals. All right, only the district administrator can. So, again, just to review, I can see that I'm the district administrator. I'm in here to administer teacher evaluations, and I have selected the prompt bank. It does have a little green marker to the left of it, meaning that it's the active menu, and then that brought me to a page with 3 tabs. I'm in the workspace now for student growth goal setting, and I'm going to add a new prompt because as the district administrator, I'm going to carry out a task that the team has asked me to carry out, and that's to assign growth goal prompts to all teachers in the district. So the prompt might be something like, what does your data show about ESL, student achievement data in the subject of writing? Okay. And I'm just going to align that with one of the 3 student growth criteria. All right. So I have to come over here and click on one of these. So there are 3 parts to assigning to writing a goal, to writing a prompt. There's the prompt itself that you write. There's the alignment of that prompt to one of the state criteria in the student growth areas. And then when you have carried out step 1 and step 2, then you can click on the Done button. And now that prompt will show up in each teacher's prompt bank for student growth goal setting across the district. Okay? Again, only district administrators can write student growth goal prompts. All right? And just to backtrack, pre-conference and post-conference prompts for teachers can be either written by the district administrator or by the principals or by the school administrators or all of the above. All right. So those steps are noted more clearly in the manual, in the handbook, and you can refer to the handbook for more information about prompts, but it's really just that easy when setting up the district eval tool for prompts. All right. Another thing that the district administrator can do is to share resources. Now, a resource might be a document or a website that it has been decided that all teachers need access to in order for them to use the eval tool for professional growth and for evaluation. So as the district administrator, when I click on resources at first, you can see there are no resources listed in the workspace, but I'd like to add a resource. I'd like to add a strategic plan for parent communication that our district wrote last year, and it's supposed to kick in and start being effective on September 1. So I'm going to click on the Add Resource button. And it kind of leads you through here. The new resource is the strategic plan. And I'm going to, in the Add Your First Resource section, I'm going to upload a file. And when I click on the Upload a File button, it gives me this dialog box. And here there are lots of options where you might be able to find your file. You know, there are a lot of places with social media, and you might have a Dropbox or Evernote or somewhere in the cloud. But for now, I'm just going to choose a local file off my hard drive. So I'm going to click here on the blue button. I'm going to go out to my desktop where I know I have prepared a fictitious strategic plan, but here it is. And I'm going to double click on it, and sure enough, here's the file now called strategicplan.pdf. And it will show up in everybody's eval tool as strategic plan PDF unless I give it a friendlier name. And I'm going to give it a friendlier name of, let's see, this is Battleground School District, so Battleground Strategic Plan 2016 to 18, let's say that. And I'm going to click on, when I'm done, I click on the green Done button to confirm that I've added a resource. But I'm not done because I need to align that with one of the 4 dimensions or 4 domains or 5 dimensions or whatever your framework uses for your categories. So I'm going to open up D4, the domain for professional responsibilities, and I'm going to click on 4C, communicating with families. And you'll notice that there's a green marker by it now. And you can also click on another one if you want. Maybe showing professionalism is something you consider this particular strategic plan to be connected to. So you can connect that particular resource to several different domains and components. And when you're done, you click on, oh, I'm sorry, before you click on done, no, I guess when you're done with aligning it to the rubric, you can click done here. And then there's one more section down here, provide a description of the resource. And you can, you know, type something if you want to help teachers know what it is that you're providing to them. And then click Update and Close. And so now all of the teachers in the district will have the resource called Strategic Plan. Okay? And you can edit this at any time. So I just reviewed how to add prompts and resources. So let me go back to my tool, or my control panel, just see if there are any questions. I'm having a really hard time with my control panel. Okay. One question is, when I added the teacher to a building a minute ago, there were 2 evaluation options, observation only or evaluation. Will the observations only setting be for an assistant principal to contribute to an overall evaluation? That is a good question. You know, I'm thinking that the answer to that is yes, but I don't know for sure, and so what I'm going to do is quickly jot a note down that asks, I can go to some other experts and ask them, and I will get back to you. Okay. Okay, and let's see what else is. Okay, looks like I've gone through a lot of the questions already. So let's see what's next in our little handbook here. Providing viewer access. There may be some people at the district level who have the right and the responsibility to get into eVAL and to view the principal's progress in evaluating the teachers. That person is called a district viewer, and you can assign district viewers within the district administrator tool. So to do that, the district administrator again goes in, they make sure that their setup is for administering teacher evaluations, and that they choose the correct or the pertinent menu item, the district viewer setup. And then here in the top part of the workspace will be a drop-down menu with all of the people in your district who are assigned the district viewer role within eVAL. So let's say that instead of it saying district viewer here, it said Jim Norton. So you would choose Jim Norton's name as the district viewer, and Jim Norton might have the responsibility of viewing the principal's data in the Battleground School District at school number 2, whatever school that is. So you match the name of the person who's a district viewer with the school where they can view the principal's data. And that's all there is to that. So that next time Jim Norton, when he signs into eVAL, he will be able to look at the principal's data through the lens of the principal. He won't be able to enter any data, but he can view the data about the observations, about the prompts, about the student growth goals, and he can view the interaction between the principals and the teachers. All right. Finally, there are some other just very general settings that the district administrator can set for the entire district. And those settings are found down in the settings menu. And the pertinent part of your handbook for this part of the demonstration is, it starts on page 21. All right. Now remember, you always start by noting, are you in the workspace for administering teacher evaluations or principal evaluations? Because everything that you do down here will be pertinent to the setup that you have selected here or in another place here in the work area in the options menu. Okay, so let's click on settings, and when you click on the settings menu, it brings you to a workspace with 3 tabs. You can choose the general settings for all of the district. Again, these are district-wide settings. You can choose settings for what you want included in your observation reports. And you can choose settings for the summative evaluation. And this part of the tool has not been completely set up yet, as I understand, and that's another work in progress. But in the general tab, you have some decisions to make, and these are decisions to make about things that will affect your district's workflow, or you might need to kind of think about your union negotiations, or your calendar, or the framework you've chosen. And so there are discussions that need to be made or need to be had before you really make changes to this general settings tab. So let's just take a look at some of these general settings. Um, Apparently, there are some other frameworks that don't require self-assessments, and so you could uncheck this. You could deselect the setting for self-assessments, and in that case, then teachers and principals would not see any menu item about conducting self-assessments. Okay, so for now, I'm going to keep that there. The default framework view will determine what framework shows up here by default in all of the district's eVAL accounts. And not only that, I want you to read this last sentence under default framework view. Whatever you choose as the default framework view is the framework that will be used in all of the reports that you'll be printing out. So we've heard now in the last couple of weeks that principals are trying to print out reports, and even though they've pulled down the menu at the top called Danielson State View, the report still prints out referencing the instructional framework. And that's because the instructional framework is the default framework here. So that's an important consideration, and it requires a discussion among the TPEP team in your district. And then there are some other just settings around the evidence collection that you will need to read and discuss and make your determination on how you're going to set up those settings. Okay? And so some of these particular screen snapshots are in your handout, in your handbook on pages 23 through 24. So you can just read through those and get a glimpse of that. Okay. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes. And so far, I've been doing a lot of this demonstration in the context of administering teacher evaluations. But as you think about setting up principals for their evaluations, you need to know one thing, that many of the tasks are done in the very, very same way. And that's noted at the top of page 25. So that if you want to figure out how to assign principals to head principals, page 25 just reminds you to go back and read the part in a prior version, on a prior page of the eVAL District Administrator Handbook. The one exception, of course, the one thing that's going to be different is the settings for principal evaluations. And there are going to be some selections that are going to have to be made here when you think about preparing principals for their evaluations in both the in all three of these tabs, the General tab, the Observation tab, and the Summative Evaluation tab. And again, all those instructions are in the handbook, and they're very easy to follow. Now, finally, I wanted to just kind of wrap this up by talking about the dashboard. Like any particular piece of software that you use or website that stores a lot of data, there's usually a dashboard. And when you click on dashboard, let's go back to teacher evaluations. When you click on dashboard, you'll see the little green marker to the left of the dashboard indicating that that's the active menu. And there are two tabs for the dashboard. There's the framework setup tab, which will look very familiar because this is where we started. We started by selecting the frameworks for teachers and principals, and we made some assignments. And you can go back into the assignments right here and look at the assignments between teachers and principals and between principals and their evaluators. And then you can also click on the schools tab, And you can get some information here about, it's just kind of summary information about the head principal and how many assigned teachers, how many completed evaluations that particular head principal at School 1 has completed. Well, right now they don't have any assigned teachers because I don't have eVAL, the eVAL sandbox set up for the head principal. Right now the eVAL sandbox defaults to putting 26 teachers in School 1 and assigned to Principal A. So let's click on that view button. All right, and this is now a screen, and this is a very interesting screen. Coming over here to the left, when I clicked on that previous view button in the Schools tab, I entered into a screen where I, as the district administrator, I'm viewing this screen as the principal, and I can select a teacher. I'm going to select teacher A. And now I'm looking at the dashboard for teacher A, and you'll notice teacher A is over here, but you're viewing it as the principal. And this is how the principal views his or her dashboard for teacher A. It tracks the observations, okay, and then it tracks the self-assessments, other evidence, and student growth, all of which are lower down on the page. Okay, so that's a really nice thing that the district administrator can do. Another tab within that particular environment is the yearly status tab, and it will give you a quick summary of the status for all of the assigned teachers that are assigned to Principal A in this school. And again, if you're not sure what school you're in that you're looking at, just come up here to the top of the menu. You're looking at the principal's dashboard for teacher A at School 1. All right. And you can drill down a little bit more by clicking on the view menu or the view button if you'd like to. I did want to just take a little bit of time to talk about coverage. This is a really nice feature, and it's getting a lot of attention because this is kind of the place where in one stop both the principal and the district administrator can see what is the status of the evidence that's been collected. And so there are a lot of different filters you can use, a lot of combinations. Right now, because we're in the sandbox, there has been no evidence collected for any of these teachers as of today because we're in the sandbox. Okay, and later on in another webinar, we'll learn about the difference between collected evidence and packaged evidence. And I think that I did note that somewhere in this particular handbook. Yes, at the bottom of page 34, there's a very quick distinction listed between collected evidence and packaged evidence in step 6 on page 34. So now, interestingly enough, there's no packaged evidence here too. But we've been asking the database to show us what evidence has been covered by the principal for each of these teachers. Now, if we pull down what's not covered and choose what's not covered, my goodness, now we get some data. And of course, because I haven't set up any fictitious data today for this particular tool, each teacher's evidence that has not been covered by this principal so far this year is listed in this table. So this is a nice summary view of what's been covered and what hasn't been covered in terms of collected evidence and packaged evidence. And those filters, again, are right up here in the drop-down menu. All right. So if you're wondering, well, how did I get there? Remember, if I go over here to the menu, there's a green marker by dashboard. And I'm looking at this through the lens of a principal who's looking at coverage. I started out by looking at Teacher A, but then then there were two other tabs. Teacher A down here is a clickable link within the table. And once you start populating the database with the evidence and rating it and scoring it and aligning it, it'll all show up right here, depending on the filter you're using. Okay? So that is it in a nutshell. Let's see if there are any new questions. Is the default for the default framework changeable? Yes, it is. It sure is. Another question, in order for the principals to evaluate the associates, they may need to request that assignment. And yes, I've answered that. Oh, actually, let me go back. No, they don't need to request that assignment. They just need to tell the district administrator to pair them up in the tool. Will there be, or is there a mid-year report option? Let's see, you can send reports on self-assessments and on observations at any time throughout the year. And I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but if you're talking about a summative report, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I will write it down as one I need to find out more about. And you know, as you explore this tool, you might find the answer to that question on your own. I'm not trying to be disrespectful of the question, but I do know that as you explore it, a lot of this information will become clear. Okay. And that's about it for now. So we're at the end of the hour, and I'm sorry, but somebody else needs the room that I'm in right now. So I must bring this to a close. But you all have my email address, and you can send me an email anytime with questions that I can explore for you or with you. I'm happy to do that. And I hope that by watching this webinar today, you've learned a little bit about how to set up eVAL for the upcoming year. I hope that it's given you a good starting point. Use your handout. I think it'll get you started, and don't hesitate to call. All right, so thank you for watching this webinar, and have a great rest of the summer and a great beginning of the school year.